It's Wednesday, May 25th. Just going over the review from my visionary board of what the humans are sending in, which is really frightening. I get up this morning, I'm like, alright, gonna think positive, because I hear that's what humans try to do every morning. Even though the world's falling apart and I'm hella in Ragnarok and I'm surrounded by the enemy and I don't see friendlies anywhere, I'm like, okay, so I am going to be positive this morning. Entered the New York waterways this morning is Fleet Week. I'm like, oh my God, the cavalry. I'm so excited. Like, the one thing I've never heard about, they've never taught about, oh my God, it must be whitecaps everywhere. They're the heroes I'm supposed to look to if all goes to shit on land. Since the land folks have been no help whatsoever, have only made everything worse. So this is how I build up this morning. I'm like, oh my God, it's like meeting Thor. Or like, I don't know, someone from Sports League. Like, it's exciting. It's someone with power somewhere in the world. They got somewhere. Someone liked them. Somebody sponsored them. Somebody took favor on them. And then all of a sudden the faces started populating the camera of what's arriving. And I'm like, uh-oh. I was like, that looks more like the same problem I got going on in, like, cop to GOP swaps. I'm like, where's, like, I mean, is that what an energy trader is and a hedge fund manager? I'm just curious. Is, like, softening the blow and the bleed of my own people? Because I'm watching this terrorist takeover and I'm like, they're sugarcoating it, but it is everywhere. How does one mayday for help in, like, good Germans and Soviets elsewhere that everybody here hates, so that must mean they're good at something? If they hate them in America territory, that means they are like saints and angels in everything that I might need. So this is what it looks like this morning. Ugh. And then it goes from this new GOP that says they ended something about the Bush, and I'm like, they're showing something called an Abrams. They're showing something, I don't know the other two labels. It's looking really dark. Like, dark end of times kind of a thing. So I'm like, wow, it really sucks for... I'm already in a bad situation, and now this is all, like, adding up to, like, even worse whatever. So then it goes into, there was a shooting at one of the schools. 14 kids died. Then they reported it went to 19. It was one teacher. Now it's two teachers. And then they say, all right, so that's GOP in, like, today's time. Let's take a flashback. They go back to Obama. And apparently when he broke into the White House, unexpectedly, he broke into, like, the family estate where he was not welcome, but somehow he got in. Big sign on the whatever of someone else trying to hang a shingle. I really don't understand where the good people are in the world that fly in to rescue, because they're like rescue rangers and like superheroes. I mean, the movies make them sound like they really exist. I have not found how they organize themselves yet, but, you know. So they go back to the year, so we're in 2022. They go back to the year 2012, just 10 years ago, and it was the first time ever that there was a robbery and a break-in into the family estate. And I really didn't see anybody doing much about it. It's concerning, but whatever. And there was some school shooting then, but in a place called Newtown, weird that the regime shows up breaking into the forefathers' White House, and now all of a sudden they're taking out a town in New England called Newtown, and it's called Connecticut State, which is even more, and that's the Constitution State, which is even more frightening. What are you cutting? What wire? Like, whoa, 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 bomb squad, like, green is neutral. And they go through that tragedy up in New England of this horrific event. Then Biden is calling out into the ether, or aether, whatever, and asking, like, where did our backbone go? And then it ends with some warrior sports league gentleman named Kerr. And he said we have 50 senators somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know if they're the last of the Mohicans. Like, are they the last 50? And he's like, they're sitting on some kind of law, or they're sitting on something that's needed, and they won't budge. Well, if Biden doesn't know where the superhero league is to protect us, and the sports league doesn't know how to get senators to move in the ways that the family needs to protect the family estate and the family position and the kids that are here, and signal to whatever might be elsewhere, then who's gonna pick up that slack? Like, who handles that in, like, the wide world of humans? I mean, it really gets confusing. So this is where I started this morning, and I'm like, oh my god, ships and airplanes and, like, uniforms, this is gonna be exciting. And then all of a sudden, like, 2 minutes in, and I'm like, oh no, that looks like more same old of the new problem.
60 degrees, and then for storage on an aircraft carrier and a hangar deck, it'll go into oversweep, so all the way to 75 degrees.
Service members visiting for Fleet Week will have the opportunity to explore this piece of history too.
This is my first time on the Intrepid, iconic location in New York City, and again, another opportunity for me to sneak in a little fun on top of work. So.
And for New York,
They've been doing a whole lot of sneaking.
And tourists, there's an opportunity for an up-close look at many of the other vessels in port as well.
It's great for all of us to be together, show what we can do as a nation and as a people, all together, men and women, and really enjoy ourselves and have a great time.
And I never know, like, somewhere in the world, that smile showing that teeth, it's a sign of, like, aggression, but like I've done it myself my whole life. Like, I don't know, are you like a friendly, or are you gonna stick me with something I'm gonna wake up hours later and not have any clue what's going on, humans in the New York area? It's really hard being a white woman and having no 6 foot over big brother to look up to that looks like he's in the same familial category as yourself. That's about what it looks like at Professional League my whole life. Alright, so on E103 for CBS this morning in New York, at a aerospace time of 00.13.16, they give some statistics from this FBI.
The FBI just released an alarming report showing a spike in the number of active shooter incidents last year, 61 of them, almost double the number from 2017, and a significant increase from just the prior year. while a separate report from an advocacy group found 77 shooting incidents on school grounds just this year. And
now, is this like some unannounced regime change? I'm just curious because in this area, they did not announce themselves like it was a hostile takeover or a hostage takeover. They didn't announce themselves. So if they quietly snuck in or did some kind of quiet swap, how do the unsuspecting ever find out and protect themselves and their kids? I'm just curious. Based on the events of like this really big sign of the times, which is really frightening, of someone broke in to the White House. And there's been and they posture it as though it's some civil stuff. Like, oh, we're civil, we're no guns, we're civil. Right, FBI statistics say differently. And like all this breakthrough science and breakthrough management and breakthrough theorem and I'm like, you did all this break-in, where's like the replacement and building? And like, who's responsible for all the demolition work?
14 deaths, a number that more than doubled yesterday.
We have to act. And don't tell me we can't have an impact on this carnage.
FBI Director Christopher Wray testifies here later today about the Uvalde investigation and the agency's overall response to gun violence. Also here today, the nominee to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Steve Dettelbach. That agency hasn't had a confirmed leader in 7 years. Michelle, another...
That's really frightening. Who unseated that chariot of the gods?
Another thing Congress can't agree on.
Startling, Scott. Thank you. Well,
Now here's some frightening news. Like, I mean, cops and GOPs. GOPs or COPs, what's the difference?
to Senate race, football legend Herschel Walker easily won the GOP nomination. That sets the stage for a hotly contested race in November against Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock.
Where do they do this racing? Like, they don't even, in New York, they have silenced my person and my parents' person so badly. We have no idea what they're racing for. We don't know what the race is, what the topics are, how it might impact us. It's like they've already silenced us completely in like, we didn't even know that there were liberties and things being taken. That's how quick and swift the movement was.
Keefe is in Atlanta. Ed, did anyone talk about the Texas shooting after the election?
Well, Michelle, good morning. Besides a few brief prayers and mention of the National Rifle Association in Houston, among those scheduled.
And it says, end of Bush dynasty. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, honestly. And I don't even know what that means.
To speak at the conference, former President Trump. Gail?
Former President Trump, Senator Cruz, and Governor Abbott will all be there, I'm told. Thank you. I almost forgot there was an election last night. This would have been our lead story under normal circumstances. That, of course, changed yesterday. Thank you. It's very difficult to report the details of this Texas school shooting without feeling the outrage and
Now, here's her, like, human interpretation of it, that she's saying they cover the stories again and again and again and nothing happens. Yeah, okay, we got that. It's actually, they have been happening, they've just been going in the wrong direction.
again and again, and you all know how it goes. We're going to hear great
It's
stories
like counting
about the
a clock
victims. We're going to
down.
hear about the heroes. We're going to offer prayers and silences, and you're going to hear a lot of sad music. And nothing seems to change. Just days ago, we were in Buffalo. You remember this, covering a mass shooting at a grocery store. 10 people gunned down there. Some of those victims are still being buried in Buffalo. But repeated gun violence in our schools is a uniquely American problem.
Uniquely American. have anything to do with hometown safety and security. I'm just curious that this, how do you make big signs of the times? Like, there's bigger things going on. I don't know where. Super Justice League, I suppose. What I don't understand is why the groundskeep keeps changing and nobody's doing anything, or nobody's signaling like Big Brother or Fatherland to come in some miraculous like way and help.
And these are numbers you really do need to take in for just a second. Since 2018, there have been 119 school shootings in this country. No country in the industrialized world comes even close. The names of these places you have heard, Virginia Tech, Parkland, Sandy Hook, are now forever linked with tragedy. And after each of these shootings, we all talk about gun reform, background checks, and mental health concerns.
Yeah, just topics. All right, now this is they're replaying Newtown from Connect I Cut, which is how they spell it, December 14th, 2012.
This horrific shooting that killed 26 people at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. That was nearly 10 years ago now, and it was a crime at the time that shook us all to the core. Scott Pelley, anchor of the CBS Evening News, said this on the day of that shooting.
We have been through this too many times. Those are the words of President Obama and the thoughts of all of us after another mass shooting in America. It is a crime more horrific than many could have imagined, in a place that no one would have expected, here in the idyllic New England community of Newtown, Connecticut. Today, a gunman opened fire on school children in a kindergarten classroom.
Earlier today, a number of our citizens, beautiful children, had their life taken away from them.
Checks out at Sandy Hook School. Caller's indicating she thinks there's someone shooting in the building.
I saw some of the bullets going past the hall that I was right next to.
I just heard the principal was shot and killed. I heard some kids were shot.
Kids were shot. Principal was shot. In a Connect I Cut state inside of New England. It was headline news. There was some shingled problem with the family estate in Virginia or Maryland, whatever. And what, nobody clears the path then? Did they not read the letters? It says Connect I Cut. And then there was Sandy Hook. And it was Newtown. I mean, these are big things somewhere in the world that knows nouns. I'm just verbing it out, trying to figure it out, and if I put the verb in the universe, maybe somebody who knows nouns knows how to pronounce what actually happened correctly and fix this for those of us, like, really outnumbered inside the city.
This teacher, Mrs. Hammonds, was shot.
Who would have ever thought in elementary school where the children and...
As a country, we have been through this too many times. I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do.
So all these parents were waiting for their children to come out. They thought that they were, still alive. There's 20 parents that were just told that their children are dead. It was awful.
It was 10 years ago. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy was a congressman representing the families of Sandy Hook Elementary School. Since then, the Democrat has worked in Congress to try and pass tougher gun laws, and Senator Murphy joined.
Now, this is the part with President Biden speaking out, trying to reach out for backbone.
Flight home from Asia Imagine getting that message. And said it struck him how these kinds of atrocities happen nowhere else in the world with the regularity that they do here in America.
I am sick and tired of it. We have to act. And don't tell me we can't have an impact on this carnage. When we passed the assault weapons ban, mass shootings went down. When the law expired, mass shootings tripled. Where in God's name is our backbone to have the courage to deal with it and stand up to the lobbies?
A few of the numbers for you so far this year in America, there have been 213 mass shootings. And since the massacre at a Buffalo supermarket just 11 days ago, there have been 16. Those have taken in total the lives of 33 people. Yeah, that's right, Michelle. I noticed that as well. This was before tip-off, Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, and Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr had his regular press conference and then waved off all questions about basketball and talked instead only about the mass shooting here in Uvalde. He was...
What I have to say, though, and I don't know what league he coaches. I think it's NBA, but I don't know. Again, when I look at the amount of players that they have on their courts, I mean, the ratios are so devastatingly, like, in the wrong direction. I mean, like...
He was reacting at the time to just initial reports of what police now say was an 18-year-old suspect.
So, like, are the sports players now the lobbyists for these coaches? And, like, are they the ones that are in this top echelon league that's trying to lead the way? And, like, lead the numbers and lead what sets policy for migration and immigration and egress? I mean, egress and migress. I mean, it gets confusing because nobody actually speaks the truth.
Storming into Robb Elementary School, armed with an AR-15 style assault rifle, gunned down school children, gunned down staff, and then died in a gunfight with police. Getting the initial reports in Dallas last night, Steve Kerr trembled with anger, banged his fist with rage, and he demanded that something be done to stop mass shootings in America. It's an issue that hits close to home for the coach. A gunman shot and killed his father back in 1984 at the American University in Beirut. And Kerr has been a strong advocate for gun control, but for him, this wasn't about the past. It was about the supermarket shooting in Buffalo. It was about the death of churchgoers in California, and then the killing and slaughter of school children just yesterday. He said, enough is enough. Listen.
When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm sorry. I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. We can't get numb to this. We can't sit here and just read about it and go, well, let's have a moment of silence. Yeah, go Dubs, you know. Come on, Mavs, let's go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go play a basketball game. And 50 senators in Washington are going to hold us hostage.
So Kerr called out Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell by name, also called out other senators, as you heard, for, in his words, refusing to do anything about the violence. And Nate, as I send it back to you in New York, I would point out that the response from senators, from other Republican, generally members of Congress, has been that you don't want to punish rightful and law-abiding gun owners by restricting access.
I don't want to get into the words of it. I did not know when I made mention of him last night that this Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy was the same person that was there. They say he was a congressman then at Sandy Hook. But that's an important fact because I didn't know it, which means that somebody really important somewhere else might not know it offhand. And it's an imperative detail.
Ms. Murphy reminded us of Sandy Hook yesterday, saying it's been nearly 10 years with no meaningful response from Congress.
But I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here. Work with us to find a way to pass laws that make this less likely. By doing something, we at least stop sending this quiet message of endorsement to these killers whose brains are breaking, who see the highest levels of government doing nothing, shooting after shooting. What are we doing? Why are we here? What are we doing?
I should make mention that the sports coach with the last name Kerr, he mentions something about an HR 8. I have no idea what that means. Like, in actuality and reality, in New York, within my life frame, there's no communication to know what it's about, what it'll affect, what it means. I mean, it's almost like a secret, quiet sports league that they draft these things, they talk about them in some whatever, don't really know how it works, some lobby state, I suppose, and then I don't know who they go to in order to get it passed. They say the Senate, but it's like, that gets confusing. So there's no, like, interaction between, I'll just use myself as an example for this matter. I have no way of finding out what an HR 8 is and how that might impact me and my kids. But yet it's going to the Senate. Whether it passes or it doesn't, I won't know that either. How do I protect myself and my kids? And how do I prepare for anything? I mean, at this point, it's impact. I've been impacted really horrifically by several different avenues. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And my only hope, the reason why I was looking so forward to, like, the ship and, like, the airplanes and whatever is because I met a pilot once. Said he was military, one of the most handsome people I've ever, like, been able to sit next to. And I was just like, that's what I was expecting the military to look like and, like, superheroes to look like. I wasn't expecting more of what's on the state media, and while I'm here in the dark with no enlightenment and no access to, like, purpose, meaningful things, or task. Like, even task list of things to accomplish in a day. There's none of that. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza.